I am rolling.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spin Rack. I'm here with the crew. I'm here with Petey and Cal. Say what's up, guys.
What up?
Today we're going to be talking about that controversy that's going on right now between Ali Larter and what's the name of the character?
Leonard-Roberts.
And Leonard Roberts. Both of them played back in the hit series Heroes back, several years ago. And so now I'll let Petey
Over
explain.
10, over a decade ago.
Yeah,
Now,
over a decade ago.
before I get into anything, can you give a brief synopsis of Heroes and the phenomenon that it was?
Cal, you want to give that to us?
Heroes was a superhero show before superhero shows were popular. This was a show where when you came on, there were a bunch of people with superpowers spread around, and these are regular people: a cheerleader, a politician, a ne'er-do-well, a friends only, only friends performer, if you will. But all of these people had superpowers, and through a very well-written first season, all of these powers came into play, plus the everyman archetype that was placed on each of these characters. It was it was a phenomenon. A lot of people liked it. It was very readily embraced, and the following seasons did not do too well. Actually, about after that mini season, everything pretty much sucked thereon afterwards. But that first season was definitely a precursor of things to come that people really enjoyed, that superhero setting. These were, well, let me not say they were superheroes per se. They weren't running around in the costumes and such, but at least the superhuman, superpowered portion of it. And it was used very cleverly, very intelligently that first season.
Well, there's also to say that we have a big name. Wasn't Jeff Loeb also involved in that?
Well, yeah, Jeff Loeb was involved, and then you had some people who came out of the show had some pretty nice careers afterward. Had some pretty nice careers afterward. Some people didn't, which is what we're about to get into.
Well, the controversy here is that it is 10 years later that Leonard Roberts brought up that that Ali Larter was very bad to him on set, that she treated him bad, and at the same time, whereas the producers were saying that they were having, he's going to be in, I think, the first couple episodes of the second season, and then he didn't show up until the third episode of that season. And then his character, of course, was then kind of cut short. So he was kind of
He was killed off.
So then you have, but the other problem with the show is that the show wasn't necessarily heroes. It was more like powers. It was about these people with powers. There was the Asian character who was always talking about being a hero, but we always had that guy that would cut into people's heads and whatnot. So it was very much about the powers and the cheerleader and such. So ultimately, having a character his power was to steal and kill people to take their power, anybody could die. And you could lose your favorite character, even though they did do more development than, say, Game of Thrones, where everyone could die. Like, they would build you up and then kill you, like that sort of thing. So that's the hard part of the show, is that it's built in there. And we also see that happen on shows like Empire, where Malik Yoba, who's like on set, he was helping, he said he was working with the young actors, and then his character gets killed off pretty early as a dramatic effect. So this isn't in defense to say that of Ali, to say that this is necessarily wrong, but the hard part is that Roberts is bringing this up in the time where everything has to be listened to, and everyone's listening to it, everyone's hearing it, but it's kind of hard because he doesn't actually say it, but the internet allows it to build up the whole racism, discrimination thing, and ultimately led to Ali apologizing to him and said, it seems like, what can we say? It seems like a genuine apology. Most people could have gone to, as we said, it's 10 years, but she did apologize. I don't think that's going to help her in this climate, but at the same time, it's one of those things that's hard to prove. That's why you go to the internet, So, Mars, do you have anything?
What is she apologizing for? I mean, I read her statement. She says that was not her perception or her experience of the events. and she apologizes nonetheless. And I'm like, what was she apologizing for? I mean, if she didn't dig the dude, she didn't dig the dude. I don't know how much power she had on the show to get him fired. I know she was definitely higher up the food chains in terms of characters than he was, as she was on the show for the entire 4 seasons. Maybe, and she definitely had more, more film. She had a higher visibility, more film credits than he do. But what exactly did she do?
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, I mean, what does he say? That I think he's also complaining about the show in general too. It wasn't just he got some issues with stuff.
Yeah, it becomes hard for me to say, okay, there's some controversy here. When you have this climate where somebody can come out with something from over 10 years ago, say, hey, this person treated me poorly. The other person, who has to be a little bit more media savvy, says, look, I'm just going to apologize and leave it at that. It doesn't, I'm not going to fight this. I'm just going to apologize, leave it at that, which is usually the smart thing to do if it's as innocuous as this is. So you do that, you put the apology out there, kind of just let it peter itself out. But then I'm like, well, what exactly, what is she apologizing for? What is he accusing her of, other than the fact that she didn't treat him nicely on the set? And she probably had whatever influence to get him fired. I'm not sure how she had that much influence in order to do such. But hey, it's one of those things where you just kind of shrug your shoulders as to even why is this a story?
I mean, I'm not, the problem with this whole controversy, like you said, I agree with you, Cal. It's taken over 10 years and it's coming back now. And, I feel for anyone who feels that they were unfairly kicked off a show for whatever reason. And because, everybody's just trying to work, especially these actors back then. And, 10 years, she did apologize. It's hard to say sometimes if people have grown from what they've learned. And if she's grown from what she's learned, probably she was a pain in the butt, probably she wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't there. I didn't see there's no videos of that particular time. But like you did say, she is higher up on the chain. And so, I think that she could have, if that's what she wanted to do. Until we find out whether she did it or not, that was his impression of it. It could be, I'm not sure. It's really tough in a lot of these instances where you're claiming these things are happening, and if you have documented proof, it's much easier to say, in this court now of public opinion, where someone can say these things, it's just tough. It's really hard. I just prefer that, when you come out with these allegations, you have to have something to show. They didn't click. Unfortunately. I hope the best for them. I hope the best for her, but. I'm right at this stage. I just don't know enough to really weigh in on either side. Just hoping that whatever it is, it gets resolved.
Well, it's hard to do because it's already asking the question. For the people I work with racist, even now my instinct is to hedge. As to say, I met great people while I worked on Heroes, whom I still call friends. So it's kind of like given the option to feel that. And it's kind of hard to do because as HR, or there's no HR because they're not in business anymore. So it's kind of just going to the court of public opinion, which is kind of hard to do. So it's sad that it's become this, but at the same time, there's, and it's not to say that this sort of thing doesn't happen in the workplace and or in Hollywood. And the amount of people of color of all races on the show, like trying to go through that sort of thing and say, well, how much this and that and the other is a tough way to go about it. But it's harder to prove, and ultimately your next step is a lot of people get that show. They haven't lasted on that show. A lot of people get kicked out or killed pretty early on. So was it all a personal attack or the nature of the show? It's hard to say.
My thing is, like, right now, what is the goal? Is he just trying to just inform people on what happened back then and how you felt? Or is he trying to get some type of redress, did they ever speak? It kind of reminds me, it could be a little bit like the whole thing where Will Smith was blamed for kicking off Aunt, and
he did kick her off. Yeah, everyone knows that.
Everybody said he did.
Everyone knows.
But because they said she was attacking him, right?
No.
Saying that why is it?
No, they basically they were.
Aunt Viv? Aunt Viv.
Yes, Aunt Viv. There were some issues as far as talent, and they were saying, they had some, I guess they had some issues that they talked to her about. But the actor who played the butler, he said this is how it basically happened. Basically, they were talking it out. They wanted her to come back. She had some issues she had with the show, and she talked with them about it. She talked with but they were friends, and he said, "Hey, it's the show's Will's show. So I mean, it's ultimately his name." So she was like, "Okay, it makes sense." So she went back to the people at the top. They said, "No, we're letting you go." So they were in talks.
That's a big jump from him saying they just said it's the Will show. Did they say that he told her to get rid of her or what? I never heard that. Did he say to get rid of her?
You want me to have they know it's him. It's his show. It's not his show? Okay. It's not his, you're going to go to the...
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that part of it. I only heard that she,
What did you hear? Say
that she said certain things that, she wanted more, and he's like, no, this is his show. And,
wanted more what? You're saying you heard she wanted what more?
Like you said, she wanted some changes with the show and, her place and her lines and stuff like that. And they're like, he's getting the prominent stuff because he's the star of the show. The show is him. So was that it, or was it just simply, but I haven't heard that he said that you're fired. I heard they just couldn't come to an agreement, and so that's why she was like,
you're going to the studio line, that it's that, okay. At the same time,
what do you mean I'm going for the studio line? What are you trying to say?
At the same time, he's been on the air. He hasn't said terrible, but he basically said, there was an issue and they let her go, right? He hasn't gone to the studio. When he spoke about it before this, he hasn't gone to the studio, made the decision, not me. Right? Hello?
I'm listening to you. I'm shaking my head. That's a universal shaking of the head means
it's like
I still don't get it. So what did he say he
hasn't put it to the studio is the one that kicked her out when he talked about it before that. And in this sort of connection that they made, he came to what his issues were, right? You turned it into a studio thing, right? Did you not just say yes or no?
The studio got rid of her, right? Did Will Smith give her the boot? That's the question. No or yes?
Involved in it. He's talked about
Cal,
it.
I need an independent person here because clearly PD can't.
An independent person, okay. That's what you want to go
with. Cal. Thank you, Cal. Once again, Cal agrees with me once again.
Usually when he doesn't agree with me, he just chimes in.
He just agreed. I don't know about, because unless there's some
going back to our guy Leonard, Cal's guy Leonard-Roberts. There's a 2-year drop in his career between Heroes and his next role in ER, but it starts to pick up with Private Practice and some other show I don't know. But then he's on Castle, a couple episodes, just single episodes and whatnot. So that's one of the things he was saying, that where he thought he was going to have this, decent career or decent time on this long, show that had some success. Ultimately, it felt like it was a slowdown of his career. Stuff like the Drumline happened before this. But, he's in stuff like Smallville and Bones but again, the thing is, he's in 17 episodes of Heroes. So I guess that I don't know. There's no thing of saying that the Heroes people saying that he was a problem. So it's a tough thing to sort of assess right now because you need sort of proof. But we're not HR. HR would have to listen to this. If he went to the studio producers and say, hey, she's treating me badly. If you go to HR, they have to listen. This is going to the court of public opinion. It's a little different. We just believe, hey, they're racist. Black people have, or people of color have trouble all the time on set. So you just throw it to that, and that's what it's become. And that's why we have her, Allie, sort of apologizing, and then you say, you know what? She also tried to kill Beyonce in in that movie. So
Don't put it like that, damn it. You got to at least preface
I
that.
can't say that she was after a black guy. That means she likes black people. So she's
No, I'm just saying you could have said, you know, in the
trying
other
to
movie
kill
where she was,
Beyonce.
where you could
goes
say
with
she was in the
the
movie with
narrative.
Beyonce where she tried to kill her because she
She's
wanted
trying to kill Beyonce. I can't say she was
I'm
after
like,
the
oh, she's
black
trying
guy.
to kill
That goes
Beyonce.
to the
She's
other
not behind
side.
bars. You know, the Beehive would have killed her, bro. You crazy? You couldn't walk down the street.
I knew that. I knew that B. I knew she was bad. She tried to kill Beyonce. Tried to take Idris Elba from her.
Which is pretty much what this amounts to.
She had a change of heart and decided she liked Idris Elba and did this movie. Anyway, I think that's good enough for this. Mars, you want to close it out?
Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you like, give us a thumbs up, comment, and, you know, nothing nasty, please. Spin a rack.
Out. All right. Thank you, guys. Now we can just do